Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for choosing the Automobile Dealer Training Association as your training partner. And I want you to be aware you'll need to set aside at least 4 hours of time to take this course. You won't be able to fast forward through any of the videos. You will be required to watch the entire 4-hour video training course. Anytime after the course, then you can watch these videos again just by jumping on NewMexicoDealer.com and click on the dealer videos. But to get credit, you do have to be logged into the learning management system, and you will have to watch the entire 4 hours of video instruction. And I want to give you a phone number here. If you have any technical difficulties during this course, make sure and call 800-369-2467. Once again, if you have any problems during this course, you shouldn't, but if you do, call 800-369-2467 or drop us an email at info@NewMexicoDealer.com. Once again, that's info@NewMexicoDealer.com. At the very end of this course, you'll be able to easily download your official training certificate, and that's going to show the state that you've completed your 4 hours of continuing education. Okay, so first though, I want to get started with some updated contact information for the New Mexico Motor Vehicle Division. And New Mexico dealers are regulated by the Dealer License Bureau, and they're located at 505 Marquette Northwest, Suite 1501, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87102. And I also want to give you that Dealer License Bureau phone number. It's going to be 505-383-2316. Once again, that's 505-383-2316. And I'm hoping that you downloaded that manual at the very beginning of the course. That way you'll be able to refer back to all these phone numbers, and you'll be able to see all the screenshots and the entire PowerPoint presentation in the back of that manual. So if for some reason you haven't done that, make sure and pause the video, jump up one link in the learning management system, and download that manual so you can follow along in the course. So in Unit 1 of your continuing education course, I want to cover the latest law revisions out of Santa Fe and show you how to correctly renew your dealer's license. So first, I do want to cover the most recent updates to New Mexico law that affects dealers throughout the state. So bills that were signed and chaptered during the 2020 legislative session. The 2020 New Mexico legislative session convened on January 21st of 2020, and they adjourned on February 20th of 2020. So any bills that are signed by the governor are chaptered and effectively become law on May 20th of 2020, unless another date is specified. So, any legislation that was not signed or vetoed by the governor by March 11th of 2020 was pocket vetoed, which means the bill died and will not become New Mexico law. So the laws that we're going to discuss from 2020 include the Senate Bill 118, Economic Development Support, Senate Bill 99, which is diplomas for Vietnam veterans, Senate Bill 137, which is licensure eligibility, Senate Bill 131, the Tobacco Products Act, and House Bill 25, which is the Pregnant Worker Accommodation Act, House Bill 21, which prohibits non-disclosure agreements for sexual harassment cases, House Bill 44, which is the New Mexico Work and Save Act, which is going to help, dealerships save for their retirement, and also House Bill 30, expedited licensure for military families. So let's start with an overview of Senate Bill 118. Senate Bill 118 is local and regional economic development support, and it creates local and regional economic development support plan and provides procedures for using money to fund local and economic development projects throughout the state. So that's something that's going to hopefully help businesses expand through the state. Senate Bill 99, diplomas for Vietnam veterans. Senate Bill 99 allows local school boards to award a high school diploma to any honorably discharged veteran of the Vietnam War whose entry to service prevented them from graduating from New Mexico High School. So if this applies for you, you can definitely get a diploma. This is a great bill. This is Senate Bill 99 that was passed, and it allows diplomas for Vietnam veterans. Senate Bill 137, licensure eligibility without lawful presence. Senate Bill 137 creates a new section of law establishing that a person who is qualified for an occupational or professional license, such as a dealer's license, remains qualified regardless of citizenship or immigration status, and prohibits the adoption of administrative rules that would conflict with this policy. So it basically confirms that a person is eligible for any type of occupational or professional license regardless of that person's citizenship or immigration status. That's Senate Bill 137. Senate Bill 131 from the 2020 session is the Tobacco Products Act. And so what it does is it repeals and replaces the Tobacco Products Act that was just enacted in 2019 to add state licensure of in-state manufacturing, distribution, and retail sale of products to existing provisions on sales to minors and e-cigarettes and liquid nicotine containers. So what they've done is they've raised the legal age for purchases of e-cigarettes and all other tobacco products from 18 up to 21. So that aligns New Mexico laws with the recently passed federal law. So it takes the legal age to buy tobacco products from 18 and it raises it up to 21 years of age. House Bill 25 is passed by the legislature in 2020 and was signed by the governor and created the Pregnant Worker Accommodation Act. So what House Bill 25 does, it amends New Mexico Human Rights Act to include pregnancy, childbirth, or conditions related to pregnancy or childbirth as a basis for unlawful discrimination practices. So it also requires reasonable accommodations, which means you might have to modify or adapt a work schedule of somebody that's pregnant in order to comply with this new law. So that basically protects pregnant workers and adds another category to the New Mexico Human Rights Act, which we're going to cover in depth a little bit later on in this course. Another bill that was passed in 2020 is House Bill 21, which prohibits non-disclosure agreements for sexual harassment cases. Okay, so what it does, it bars employers throughout the state from requiring an employee to sign a non-disclosure provision in any type of settlement agreement relating to the claim of sexual harassment or sexual assault in the workplace. It bars employers from preventing an employee from disclosing such claims. Obviously, we've heard a lot about these in the last couple of years, and now the state has a new law that strictly prohibits non-disclosure agreements during sexual harassment cases. So that's pretty much lining up with several other state laws as well. That was House Bill 21. This is a great law for dealers. House Bill 41's New Mexico Work and Save Act. So House Bill 41 created the New Mexico Work and Save Act, which allows for voluntary savings programs for the private sector, including licensed dealers. And so what you're going to be able to do, if you want to, you can now create a retirement savings plan through a web-based marketplace that was also established under the New Mexico Work and Save Board. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is a great savings program for entrepreneurs like you that are self-employed, that want to have an additional savings retirement income. So do please keep that in mind. Now also, the final law that I want to discuss with you that was passed in 2020, this is a great law. It's a House Bill 30, expedited licensure for military families. So what this does, House Bill 30 amends existing law to basically fast track the transfer of professional and occupational licenses for service members and their families and recent veterans that have relocated to the state of New Mexico. Also waives licensing fees for the first 3 years for those that are applicable. So let's just say, for example, you're a veteran and maybe you're applying for a license or renewing your dealer's license. Then what every state agency is going to do is basically take your application from the bottom of the pile and put it up on the top. So they're going to really try and expedite licensing approval for military veterans and spouses of military veterans. So now we're going to jump back here a little bit, and I want to go back to the 2019 legislative session and cover the bills that were passed into law in 2019, just in case you're not aware of these. And these are some really big employment laws, and we're going to go in depth on these. Senate Bill 437, which raises New Mexico's minimum wage. Senate Bill 107, electronic evidence of financial responsibility. I'm going to talk about Senate Bill 162 and the dissolution of business entities. Senate Bill 227, which adds additional unlawful discrimination practices for employers. House Bill 388, which creates gender-free restroom signage, and House Bill 205, which will require baby changing facilities in newly constructed restrooms. Senate Bill 25, which is no price changes based on gender. We're also going to talk about Senate Bill 96, which changes convictions on employment applications. House Bill 150, which changes installment and small loans. House Bill 256, which adds e-cigarettes to the Indoor Clean Air Act. House Bill 100, which changes Columbus Day. We'll go over that in a moment. We're going to spend some time here on House Bill 6, which rewrote New Mexico's tax law, and then Senate Bill 248, which changes the state's dealer education requirements. So let's start with the first law change from the 2019 legislative session, which is Senate Bill 437. Senate Bill 437 raises the minimum wage in the state throughout the state of New Mexico. And 437, the Senate Bill 437 has specific dates when employers in the state must raise minimum wage to certain levels. Okay, so here's the levels that were set into law, and that bill has been signed and it is now law. So, prior to January 1st of 2020, the minimum wage in the state was $7.50. But starting January 1st, 2020, then the wage must be at least $9 an hour. Starting January 1st of 2021, that wage must be at least $10.50 an hour. Starting January 1st of 2022, the minimum wage in the state will be $11.50 an hour. And on or after January 1st of 2023, then the state's minimum wage will be $12 an hour. Okay, so Senate Bill 437 includes dealership salespersons and all employees that are compensated on a commission basis. But if you ever have questions on minimum wage, then you can certainly contact the Labor Relations Division at 505-841-4400. So also some of the cities that we're in have higher minimum wages, but those were just the state minimum wages that changed, and they're going to change on an escalating basis for the next several years. So you have to make sure that you're paying the minimum wage correctly. Later on in the course, we have a whole section on minimum wage, which we'll go in depth a little bit later on in the course. So something else you need to be aware of is Senate Bill 107 that was passed, and it's electronic evidence for financial responsibility, which is insurance. So Senate Bill 107 allows an owner or an operator of a vehicle to provide electronic evidence of financial responsibility that's accessible through a portable device. So in the past, somebody had to show an actual paper copy of insurance. Well, now you can basically take a picture of your coverage and keep that on your phone. But that being said, even though the law has changed, some third-party motor vehicle lenders may still require proof of financial responsibility to be provided via paper. So you want to make sure that you check with your third-party lender that you're doing loans for your vehicles and ensure electronic proof of insurance is going to be sufficient. But if you have any questions about that insurance law, you can call the New Mexico Office of Superintendent of Insurance at 855-427-5674. Another law you need to be aware of is Senate Bill 162, which is the dissolution of business entity. Senate Bill 162 requires each type of business to submit an additional statement as part of articles of dissolution confirming that you have resigned your registered agent. So everyone, I hope you never go out of business, but if you ever dissolve a corporation, you've also got to dissolve what's called your business entity. Okay, so if you didn't do that, you can actually face some future tax liabilities. But if you ever have questions about business entities, you can call the New Mexico Secretary of State Corporations Division, and that's going to be 505-827-4508. Once again, that's 505-827-4508. So if you ever do dissolve a corporation, then you also have to now dissolve the business entity as well. That's your registered business entity. Unlawful discrimination practices. Senate Bill 227 amends the New Mexico Human Rights Act to remove the limitation of 15 or more employers as an employer to include sexual orientation and gender identity as a basis for unlawful discrimination practices. So in the past, the New Mexico Human Rights Act only was applicable to employees that had 15 or more employees. Well, now there's no requirement on that. So if you have employees in a state, you must abide by the New Mexico Human Rights Act. Okay, so they want you to be aware of that. And that has also added sexual orientation and gender identity as bases for unlawful discrimination. So keep that in mind. There's no longer a 15 employee level. There is now just if you have employees in the state, you're required to abide by that act. Okay, so also, House Bill 388 requires gender-free restroom signage. And I want to kind of go into this with you. House Bill 388 requires that a single-user toilet facility in a public accommodation, which includes, any services to the general public, such as a motor vehicle dealership, be made available to any person regardless of gender identity or sex. So gender-neutral signage means a sign that indicates a restroom without preference or to distinction to a single specific gender, identity, or sex. So if you do have a restroom that is available to the public, you have to get a gender neutral signage. And I looked these up on Amazon and they cost like $6. So it's very easy to order these on Amazon, but it does apply to existing and newly constructed restrooms. I want to repeat that. House Bill 388 applies to existing restrooms. So if you do have a restroom in your dealership with public access, make sure that you do have gender neutral signage on that. Okay, so do please keep that in mind. Something else regarding restrooms is going to be House Bill 205, which was signed into law, and it includes baby changing facilities. House Bill 205 requires baby changing facilities be available in each restroom in a place of public accommodation. So what this means is if you are doing any type of construction or remodeling to your dealership, then you're going to have baby changing facilities in that restroom. This does not apply to current restrooms, but if you ever remodel a restroom or if you construct new restrooms, then you must have baby changing facilities. So please do keep that in mind. Senate Bill 25 was passed in 2019, and it creates no differential pricing based on gender. So I want to kind of go in depth on this. This involves the New Mexico Unfair Practices Act, which currently has 18 categories of unfair trade practices, and Senate Bill 25 has added a 19th, which does not allow difference in pricing based on gender or identity. So the majority of the language which is included, it's Senate Bill 25 creates the 19th category in the Unfair Practices Act that says offering or providing unposted or unadvertised pricing or service based on a buyer's gender or perceived gender identity is not allowed. Okay, so obviously you can't offer one price to one person because of their gender and then offer a different price to a different person because of their gender or their gender identity. But, I also want to cover some other categories of the Unfair Practices Act that applies to dealers, such as, in the original 18 parts, number 6 of the 18 says representing goods that are original or new if they are not original or new. So you can obviously never tell a customer that a vehicle is brand new, if it's used. Number 8, I want you to be aware of this. Disparaging the goods, services, or business of another by false or misleading representation. So, you can't say, hey, Joe Bob's dealership down the street always has the highest prices in town. You can't say something like that. You can never disparage, another dealership's business. So even saying disparaging remarks about a business competitor is a violation of the state law. So, number 10, offering goods or services with intent not to supply reasonable expected public demand. So, you can't tell everyone, hey, we've got 10 Chevy Silverados ready to go, and you've only got 3, just to try and get some traffic. So you can't offer goods or services without having the goods or services ready. So also number 11, making false or misleading statements of fact concerning the prices or goods of services of a competitor. So you cannot say, hey, Joe Bob down the street, they got the highest prices in vehicles in town. I mean, you can't make false or misleading statements regarding price of competitors. Also, number 16, stating that services repairs are needed if they are not actually needed. So let's just say, for example, you tell the customer that brings in a vehicle to be repaired that they need a new radiator when they really didn't, then that's a violation of the law. So you can never state that repairs are needed if they're not needed, okay? Or also failing to deliver the quality or content of goods that you were contracted for. So if you get a purchase agreement signed and you're not delivering that vehicle, that's actually a violation of the law. So do please keep that in mind. Something else we need to be aware of about a law that changed in 2019 is Senate Bill 96, which changes conviction information on job applications. Senate Bill 96 adds a new section to the Criminal Offender Employment Act concerning private employees, such as private employers such as dealers in hiring. So the bill basically bans private employers from asking about an applicant's history of arrest or conviction on an employment application. So if you're using an old employment application when you're hiring salespersons and it asks about history of arrest or conviction, throw those away. You are no longer allowed to use those employment applications. But, this law says nothing shall prohibit the employer from notifying the public that there are certain things that would disqualify them. Like if you're running an ad to try and hire new salespersons, you could state in the ad, a person that has stolen vehicles in the past, please do not apply. But when they fill out that application, you cannot ask about criminal history. So please keep that in mind. Here's a couple laws I want to go over with you. Number one, House Bill 150 from 2019 changed the Installment and Small Lending Act. Okay, and so basically, what this says, if you are doing short-term loans, which is normally going to be like a title loan company, then the person that's got the loan has 24 hours to rescind that. So if this would refer to you, let's say, for example, you've got a dealership plus a title loan company. Well, if you have a title loan company, then the customer can come in and rescind the title loan within 24 hours. And it also changed, House Bill 375 also changed installment loan APR rates for title loan companies. So, once again, this is only going to affect you if you're a dealership plus you have a title loan company, but it reduces the maximum allowable interest rate for loans from 175% down to 36%. So once again, these two bills would probably only cover you if you have a title loan company in addition to your dealership. House Bill 256 from 2019 also adds e-cigarettes to the Clean Indoor Air Act. So House Bill 256 amended the D. Johnson Clean Indoor Air Act to include e-cigarettes and their vapors from being used and inhaled in spaces where tobacco and other similar products are prohibited. So smoking is prohibited near entrances, windows, and ventilation systems of all types. So everyone, if you've got a no smoking area outside your dealership, you want to make sure your customers never have to walk through a smoking area in order to gain access to your dealership. So make sure of that. And this House Bill 256 also added e-cigarettes to anything that applies under the no smoking areas. House Bill 100 replaces Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples Day. It also changes the second Monday of October. It also changes November 11th from Veterans Day to Armistice and Veterans Day. And also now the third Monday in February is no longer Washington and Lincoln's birthday. It's now referred to as Washington and Lincoln's birthday, President's Day. So a couple things there. They changed a couple of state holidays names. So you definitely need to be aware of that. Now, let's take a look at House Bill 6, which dramatically changed the state's tax policy. So House Bill 6, Gross Receipts and Compensating Tax Act, and it was signed by the governor on April 4th of 2019, and it made several changes to New Mexico's tax code, several of them which will affect the operation of a dealership. The corporation income tax was changed under this law, and under the previous tax law, corporation income tax was based on the net income of corporations conducting business only inside the state of New Mexico. Well, the new law requires the state to impose a corporation tax on the entire taxable income of a corporation, regardless of where they're organized. So in other words, if your dealership is incorporated in another state, then you're still going to pay New Mexico's corporation income tax based on your entire income, even income that was based outside of the state of New Mexico, regardless of where you're headquartered. House Bill 6 also changed the income tax. Okay, so I want to kind of explain this. If the state's general fund does not grow by more than 5% from the current fiscal year through the next one, then the state's income tax will raise from 4.9% to 5.9% for families that do have higher incomes. And it also creates basically a municipal and county compensating tax as well. So, these taxes are still going to be collected by the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Division the same way they were in the past. But, they are going to alter those on the CRS system, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. House Bill 6 also raised the tax that's charged for any service, such as a repair on a service that's provided by a motor vehicle dealer. So on July 1st of 2021, that tax rate changed to 5.125%. So just keep that in mind. They have changed the rates that we charge for service and also changed the motor vehicle excise tax. House Bill 6 raised the tax on purchases of motor vehicles from 3% to 4%, and that'll automatically be configured on your CRS filings as well. And we'll go into CRS in depth here in just a little bit. So got a whole nother section on tax policy coming up. And finally, the final law from 2019 that I want to talk to you about is Senate Bill 248. Senate Bill 248 amended the dealer education bill, and now what they do require is that every single used dealer in the state is going to take your continuing education of 4 hours every year instead of every other year. So remember how we used to have to take the training every other year? Well, Senate Bill 248 now requires every licensed used dealer in the state to complete 4 hours of continuing education every year. And also the bill removes the of good character requirement to be licensed to conduct business as a dealer or an auto recycler or a title loan company. So all non-franchise car dealer licensees are now required to complete 4 hours of continuing education every year. So, if you have any questions on that, you can certainly contact the Dealer License Bureau at 505-383-2316. So next, I want to show you how to track bills in the New Mexico legislature. That way, if you do see a bad bill moving through the legislature, we can contact our state representative and state senators in advance. So if you see a bad dealer bill going through, you can contact them and say, hey, stop that bill. Or if you see a good dealer bill going through, well, you can contact them and tell them you support that bill. So I want to show you how you can contact your state representative and your state senator. Okay, but first, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to know the New Mexico legislature website, and that's going to be nmlegis.gov. You see it right there on the screen. Once again, that's nmlegis.gov. So I'm going to show you how to track bills. The first thing you want to do is you're going to go on here. You're going to click on quick links at the top right, and then we're going to go down to My Roundhouse. So first, we're going to need to create an account and a username with a password. So then you're going to be sent an email to your email address. And that's basically, you'll need to confirm your email address. And now we're going to want to enter the word of a bill that we might want to track. So, maybe you want to enter tax to follow tax bills or employer to follow employer bills. But if you want to track every single bill that has the word dealer in it, then you're simply going to enter dealer here. And then you'll see every bill that has the word dealer. So let's say, look at this list, the old bill, House Bill 46, the old dealership bill from a couple of years ago. You would select the bill that you want to follow, and then you check that to your added legislation. And now you can easily track that bill with any changes that are made to that bill. Okay, so you definitely want to keep track of these bills. Obviously, they've got a lot of oversight over us in Santa Fe. So if you see some really bad bill going through the legislature, you can reach out to your state senator or your state representative and let them know there's an anti-dealer bill going through. So you can also use these websites to track bills in Washington that you see right there. And I do want you to be aware, the majority of bills that I see moved that affect the operation of a dealership are normally going through Santa Fe. Once in a while, you'll see some new federal bills, but bills go a lot slower in Washington than they do in Santa Fe. Okay, so next, I want to show you how you can contact your state representative or your state senator in case you want to let them know that there's a good bill or a bad bill. So what you'll need to do here is just go to that same website, click on legislators. If you want to find out your state representative, well, you'll just go to this link over here and you can type in your home address and it'll tell you exactly who your state representative is. Or if you want to go over here and find out who your state senator is, then you can click your address right there. And then you can easily contact your state senator or your state representative if you see bad bills going through the legislature in Santa Fe. You can also easily contact your congressperson in Washington as well. So if you want to contact your representative that serves in the United States House of Representatives, you can go to house.gov and you just type your zip code in there and it'll tell you exactly who your congressperson is that serves in the United States House of Representatives. Now, you probably know who your senator is, but if you want contact information for your senator, you can go to senate.gov. You'll choose New Mexico, obviously, and then you'll be able to see the contact information for both United States senators. So, I want to let you know, don't ever hesitate to inform any elected official that dealers are very large sales tax generators. I want to repeat that. Don't ever hesitate to contact your elected official and let them know that dealers are very large sales tax generators for the state. So the more vehicles you sell, the more sales tax is generated for the state. So don't hesitate to let your elected official know that you are a very, very large sales tax generator and that you're also a voter as well.